Welcome to Mother's Narrative Network. Before we begin, please like and subscribe for more daily uploads. Hope you enjoy today's video. Have you ever encountered anyone this cheeky? Inspired roughly by a couple of threads recently. I used to have a friend, used to being the operative, who would come round to my house to smoke. Her reason being that she didn't want her house to smell like smoke, and she didn't like smoking in the street, as she thought it looked common, her words. The punchline being that I didn't smoke. That friendship ended when I saw the light and realized that she was using me. She was happy enough to make my house stink, and I was too polite, at the time, to ask her not to, as I thought I was being a welcoming host. Has anyone encountered anyone with more brass neck than that? I work with someone who admitted that she would buy a book, read it and check to see if she had made any marks on the spine. If she hadn't, she would return it within 3 days. She is also quite open about buying something, wearing it and returning it. She boasts about having pulled a button off on purpose once, because there was a slight stain, and it would have been refused for the stain. If it's faulty, the refund has to be given. We work in retail. A couple of us walked away in disgust when she bragged about that. My mum had a friend that was downright rude. She once opened up our freezer and helped herself to a chicken, because we had two. And she used to take my mum's car, because it had more petrol in it than hers. Being handed a bowl of blackberries by a relative, and told, just pop those into a pie with a bit of apple. Bill took Dee out of her car seat, and put her on the floor, to take said car seat to the hospital to collect his newborn Dee. He decided that our Dee was too big for the seat, and we could get a new one. She was 4 weeks old. Still not as cheeky as Panda's mate. I had a neighbor that used to bring her two hyperactive kids to my house, when she had finished tidying up, because she wanted her house to stay tidy for when her husband got home. "Can I come and play?" asked tedious kid over the fence. "Not just now, come after lunch," says me, loud enough for daddy to hear. 2 minutes later, ding dong. "Does your daddy know you are here?" I said to come after lunch. "Oh, he said it was okay." Eh? We've got a gooseberry bush in our garden. Because I live out in the wilds, we don't tend to have fences, but it's bleedin' obvious that the bush is in a garden, and that the garden it is in is ours. One summer afternoon I came home to find an elderly lady, armed with a carrier bag, rootling discontentedly in said bush. Before I had the chance to ask what she was doing in there, she said, "This is really not good enough. Last year your gooseberry bush was full of fruit, but it's all gone." When I politely pointed out that this was because we'd eaten our own gooseberries, she replied with, "Well, that's the giddy limit. I've got friends coming to dinner tonight, and I'd promised them a gooseberry tart for pudding. I've driven all the way out here from Lewis especially to pick these gooseberries, and now what am I supposed to do?" I still don't know how I managed not to tell her exactly what I thought she ought to do. My other half is an electrician. A friend needed some work desperately doing, so as it wasn't a big job, he said he wouldn't charge her. He did it and told her it was 15 quid for the bits she needed, as he got it cheaper for her from the merchants. She said to me when he left the room, "I thought he wasn't charging me." I said, "He isn't, that's how much the part was." "Huh, oh, is he not sorting that then?" Me, no, he isn't going to pay for a part two and do the job for free. She still was peeved. WTF. I've got two. Our neighbor asked to store 2 boxes in our garage for 2 days, then the next day had managed to get his own key cut, and added about 20 more boxes. DH put a stop to that immediately. Other was my neighbor in halls of residence. She was always borrowing my clothes, then one day popped her head around the door to say bye for the Christmas hauls. When I asked for my pink jumper back, she bent down, unzipped her suitcase, and gave it to me along with 3 pairs of my shoes and my bras. Shock. She later went on to take her housemate's knickers off radiators to wear. I have a friend L who is a music journalist, and she goes to music festivals for work and usually gets a free +1. She invited another friend A, someone I know and don't like. L couldn't get A on the journalist coach to the festival, obviously. I text L telling L how much L's half of A's train fare was. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard that. I haven't encountered anything as cheeky as some of the things on here, but my colleague is always telling us about her cheeky neighbor. When she bought her house, it included a shed in the garden. She came home one day to find the shed in the neighbor's garden. When she asked about it, he told her the previous owner had said he could have it. For the sake of neighborly relations, she let it go, and her dad put up another shed for her. The neighbor then came round to insist that they should swap sheds, as hers was better his. Funnily enough, she was not inclined to agree to his request. He then put on a sad face, when a few weeks later she told him she was going to plant some of the tubs in her garden, and told her that he was hoping he could have them. The final straw came a few weeks ago, when she arrived home to find some random bloke getting water from her outside tap. She is metered. The bloke said that her neighbor had said it was okay. Not as cheeky as some mentioned, but when I was just home from hospital after having DC1, DH was at work. A friend popped in with her 2 DCS, because she was passing and couldn't face going home as they were playing her up. She had bought them sausage rolls en route dropping pastry. They wandered from room to room dropping pastry everywhere, and creating havoc, screaming, shouting and crying the whole time, and she'd had no lunch, so asked if she could have a sandwich. Then left without offering to clear up any mess her DCS had left behind. Obviously she was having a bad day, but a brand new mum could do without that, as SHE should have known. I finally cleared out my integral garage after the hoarding ex left. BIL said, "Great. I can store some of my work gear in here now as I am getting a smaller van." He then went on to place his racing bike in there as well, and I used to be woken at daft o'clock when he collected it. On returning from the bike ride in his sweaty lycras, he used to take a shower without asking. And then settle down in my armchair for a cup of coffee, and bore me with his trial times. Just awful and cheeky. At my old place I had a paddock. When my horses died I was sad at it being empty, and a friend said her friend needed a field for her 2 ponies, so I rented it to her very cheaply, glad to have it in use. The friend of a friend was very nice, but her boyfriend was not. They helped themselves to everything, fork, shovel, flamethrower, food, beer etc. in my sheds, that I hadn't said they could use, but I, being a shy people pleaser, was too cowardly to say anything. They invited around 10 of their mates around to the field to have a barbecue one Saturday afternoon, and left all their cans and rubbish on the lawn. The final straw was the boyfriend accidentally leaving the hose on all night. I was metered. When I asked for a contribution, I was informed that we don't duck-kin pay for water, that's free. In my defense, I was going through a breakup, was on my own and was missing my own horses, so loved there's a lot. I text them chucking them out, then had to keep the curtains shut for a month before they left. One of my mother's friends used to come to our house to pee in order to save money. At their house, she made her 3 teenage daughters go to the bathroom at the same time, so they only had to flush once. A woman at work retired 6 months ago. In the new year, she was spotted coming out of the rarely used staff showers, and had 6 bottles of water filled from the water fountain with her. She'd been using the staff showers every day, and filling up water bottles so she didn't have to use her own. She'd kept hold of her staff pass to gain access. She lived over an hour away, but used her bus pass. Not really a friend, but a woman who lived in the area told me that she could not find the key to my house in order to show her mother round. They had looked under the bin and everywhere, so where did I keep my key? I had not long moved. They had peeped in the windows and said some rooms looked like a Ithel. Hilarious thread. Our neighbor, who we know to say hi to and send Christmas cards to but not much more, i.e. we've never been in each other's houses. Had my DH's phone number in case of emergency. Male neighbor called DH at 3 o'clock in the morning to ask DH to drive to the 24H supermarket and get cigarettes and beer for him, as he had been drinking, had an argument with his wife and wanted to start smoking again. Lovely patient kind DH went round with some cigarettes we had from ages ago, when we smoked, and sat listening to him moan about his wife for ages. He stayed long enough to make sure he was okay on his own and then scarpered back home. Also, my friend had a birthday party for her DD at a play center last month, and a mum, just one of the general public, who were also there, sent her children over to the buffet. When friend pointed out that it was a private party, cheeky mum just shrugged and said, they've started eating now. I'll let them finish, then I don't need to give them any tea. I regularly give more than I get, and do ridiculous things for other people that cause me great inconvenience are never repaid. I think it's good to try to be nice, even if it does mean getting mugged off once in a while and being full of rage. I've just remembered a funny one from when I was little. My lovely ex-naval officer granddad ran to the beach May to October with his towel, and would swim in sea, leaving the towel on the beach. One day he emerged to find a woman drying her dog with the towel. Before he even said anything, she scowled at him and said, "What? I'm just drying my dog, and I won't be a minute." The memory of his face, recounting the tale, brings a smile to my face some 25 years later. We have a yearly carnival that is a bit of a local event, with the main parade at about 7 p.m. I used to live right on the carnival route. It's amazing how many friends suddenly remembered that I existed about a week before carnival. One lass would invite herself and her family to dinner before the ever and help herself to our drinks. She did it once. One woman, whilst waiting for the parade to start, and despite me blatantly leaning against my front door, lifted her child over my garden fence and suggested that my flower beds might be a good place for him to have a wee. I stopped them before he could and said to her, if you'd asked, he could have used my loo. Now you can go use the public loos like everyone else." She just gave me a face and said, "But he needs a wee and we'll lose our place." My MIL is a cheeky one. If we acquire anything she likes the look of, she will sigh and pine over it in the hope we will offer it to her. When her car died, we offered to help her find a new one. The list of specs she had to have in her next car was very limiting. In fact, it narrowed down her choices to one car. Ours. She didn't get it. Don't worry. We visit the in-laws once a year. DH asked if there was anything he could help with while we were there. He should really have known better. We arrived for our 5-day visit with DCS, 9 and 11, to find MIL had written a 2-page close written list of jobs they just don't have time for, what with both being retired and all. Ranging from washing out the hundreds of plant pots and hanging a towel holder on 2 existing screws, to stripping down and restoring a Victorian cloche with 16 slightly different panes of glass. DH got to repair a security light, screw the bulb in, and mend the pond liner in sub-zero temperatures, while Didi got to sort through their jiffy bags to decide which ones MIL wanted. I got told to wash the pots again, as I hadn't done them right. It took all my self-restraint not to throw them at her. And they wonder why we don't visit more often. They have a handyman, but apparently don't want to bother him with these jobs, when we'll drive 200 miles to do them for free. DH drew the line at varnishing the window ledges, given they had a decorator coming the following week. DCS used to drop off her 3 children whenever she was going shopping or catching up on housework, because 3 more won't make a difference when you've already got 4 of your own. The last time she did so was a couple of days before my due date for baby number 5. As she left, I said, "Don't bring them next week when you go shopping, as I'll either be overdue or have a newborn." The following week she phoned to see if I'd had the baby and DH said no, but my waters had gone and I'd be going to the hospital to be induced the next day if nothing happened under its own steam later. An hour later she turned up reasoning that as DH was home I wouldn't mind having her 3 whilst she went shopping as there was DH to help and I never had quick labours anyway. She was most affronted when DH sent her packing and bitched to everyone about it. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed the video. Before you go please, like, comment, and subscribe for more daily uploads.